All right, what's up, family? So before we get started, just want to let you guys know that full list of ingredients with the exact measurements will be in the description box. Now let's get to the video. So before we make our Rasta pasta, we're going to make our vegan scallops. Now, in order to make our vegan scallops, we're going to use king oyster mushrooms. Okay, don't try to use anything else. Use king oyster mushrooms. They're also known as trumpet mushrooms. Now, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to find them in your local grocery store or supermarket. You're going to find them in Asian grocery stores. Okay. As a matter of fact, that's pretty much where I normally get most of my mushrooms from, is from Asian grocery stores because 9 times out of 10, they have them. Okay. Now, as you can see in the video, what I'm doing with my king oyster mushroom is I'm actually cutting it horizontally and I want to cut it in the shape of a scallop. Okay. Now, if you guys have seen scallops before, you know that scallops are, somewhat thick. And they're normally around 3/4 of an inch to about an inch in thickness. Okay. So reason why we like using the king oyster mushrooms because the stem of the mushroom mimics the look of a scallop. Okay. And it's pretty much the best plant-based alternative that I know of to date, right? So that's why I'm going with the king oyster mushroom. Now, if you don't believe me, go ahead and YouTube, type in vegan scallops, and I guarantee you most content creators are using king oyster mushrooms. So if you're not a fan of mushrooms, I kind of suggest that you try to become a fan. All right, try to become a fan. Okay, if that didn't persuade you, I don't know what else to say. Now back to the video. So as you can see here, I'm cutting my mushrooms into the shape of scallops. Now each mushroom, if you cut them small, you can get about roughly 6 or 7. If you cut them really thick, anything larger than an inch, you could probably get about a good 3, maybe 4, you know, depending on your preference. It's all about preference, right? So you guys don't have to follow this recipe verbatim. I'm just, uploading this video and showing you guys how I do it, okay? Now, for the sake of this video and for the sake of time, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Okay, so after we cut our king oyster mushrooms into the shape of scallops, next what I'm doing here is just, putting a little, design on my mushrooms. So um basically just to make them look fancy. I'm not going front, you see. I did like the checker box, you know, design, just to like give them a fancy look when you pan fry them, because you're basically going to sear them. Later on in the video, when I cook them, you're going to see that um, cutting these little slits and making these little designs, it just helps with the presentation and just helps with the vegan scallops pop. That's all. But you don't have to do them. You can literally take them the way they are now and skip this part. Don't do what I'm doing right now and literally just start working on the marinade and just marinate them. But like I said, y'all know me. I'm really big on presentation. So I decided to actually go ahead and, add these little marks on them. All right, family. So now that we have cut our mushrooms into the shape of scallops, we're now going to create a marinade. Now, the reason why we are creating a marinade is because of the fact that if we just fry the mushrooms by themselves, it's not going to taste like nothing. And we're trying to mimic the taste of somewhat of a scallop. So we have to give it some flavor. So in a blender cup, you're going to add 1 cup of vegetable broth. All right, next we're gonna go with some cocoa aminos. Now, if you don't have cocoa aminos, no problem. You can always use soy sauce, or you can use tamari, or you can use liquid aminos. Okay. Now, with me, as you guys already know, I try to make the majority of my vegan meals as soy free as possible. So I'm using cocoa aminos, but please feel free to use soy sauce if you want. Now, as you can see here, I'm going up with 1 tablespoon of cocoa aminos. And like I said before, if you want to use soy sauce, that's fine. All right, so next we need to add some umami flavor to our scallops. So I'm going in with a half teaspoon of this umami seasoning blend. Now, if you don't have access to a Trader Joe's and you can't get this seasoning, you can always use white miso. Okay. Now, if you use white miso, you want to use about 2 tablespoons. But since I'm using a seasoning blend, I'm only going to go in with a half teaspoon. All right, so next we need to get some seafood flavor into our scallops. I mean, what's the point in making vegan scallops if it don't taste anything like the ocean, right? So, to mimic somewhat of an ocean-like taste, I'm going in with a couple of sheets of nori. Now, if you don't have access to nori, which everyone should, you can use kelp flakes. You can use some sea moss powder, some bladderwrack powder. You can use what else can you use? There's something I'm missing. There's kelp, there's nori, there's bladderwrack, there's sea moss. There's another seaweed that you can get that's dried, and I can't remember the name of it. But basically, you want to get some type of seaweed into your marinade so that way the mushrooms can absorb some of that flavor. All right, next we're going to add some oil to our marinade. I'm using avocado oil. If you don't have avocado oil, because I know it can be mad expensive, you can use olive oil. All right. Now, as far as the measurement, we're going in with 1 tablespoon of oil. So 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of avocado oil, 1 tablespoon of whatever oil you have on deck. Okay. All right, next we're gonna put the top on. We're gonna blend for 1 to 2 minutes, and then we're gonna go ahead and add our marinade to our mushrooms, and then set our mushrooms aside so they can actually soak up this good flavor. All right, so next we're gonna start prepping our veggies for our vegan Rasta pasta. All right, right here I have 2 stalks of green onion or scallions. And what I'm doing right here is actually pressing down, releasing some of the juices. So when I go to actually saute them and cook them, it's going to make it easier for the juices to incorporate with the dish, you know. So I'm just dicing up two stalks of scallion or green onion. And remember, guys, the full detailed list of ingredients with the exact measurements would be in the description box. So if I happen to not say how much this is, how much that is, just reference the description box and you would get the exact measurement. All right, next we're going in with 3 cloves of garlic, and we're just going to go ahead and give these 3 cloves of garlic a quick mince. All right, next we're gonna cut up our bell peppers. So I have a red bell pepper, a yellow bell pepper, and a green bell pepper. Okay. Now you're gonna use half of each bell pepper. Okay. So half of the red, half of the yellow, half of the green, and you're just gonna cut them up into nice thin little strips. Okay. Now also keep in mind, wash your damn vegetables. Okay. Wash them. Right. Now, as you see in the video, you may not see me wash them in the video, but I wash my vegetables before I cut them. Okay, so just want to let you guys know that, and also, if you guys haven't caught on yet, this is my second, vegan Rasta pasta video, and I even said in that video, wash your damn vegetables because, if you don't wash your vegetables, you are very nasty. I said what I said, and that's that. So like I said, we're gonna go ahead and cut up these bell peppers, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, family. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go ahead and sear our mushrooms. Like I said earlier, just for the sake of demonstration purposes and for time, I didn't marinate my mushrooms that long, but I just want to show you guys exactly what you have to do. So, you're gonna grab a skillet, add a little bit of oil to it. I look like I added too much oil. Add a little bit of oil to it, and then you're gonna go ahead and put your scallops in the skillet, flat side down, and you're gonna cook it about 5 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes on each side. Okay. Now, you don't want to burn the mushrooms, so you want to keep an eye on them. Also, understand that depending on the thickness of your vegan scallops is definitely going to determine how long you're going to cook them on both sides because mushrooms cook very fast. Okay, so you want to make sure that you keep an eye on them. Don't put them on the skillet and then walk away. Make sure you stay there, keep an eye on them. You know, start checking around like 4 minutes, start peeking, making sure that, they're not burnt. They have a nice brown color on them, and then flip them. Okay. And do that on both sides. All right, family. So, as you can see here, this is a missing step, and this is optional. You don't have to do this. I was just messing around, but I added a little bit of butter, just to soften up the mushrooms a little bit more, and I actually added some jerk marinade. Y'all know me. I always go against the grain, and I was actually freestyling and playing with this recipe as I was recording this video. Okay, so that's why I added the jerk sauce because I just wanted to mess with it. All right, but you do have to add the obey. Okay, um, just sprinkle a little bit on there. You don't want to sprinkle a lot because obey is very high in sodium. All right, now we're using obey because, like I said before, we want to incorporate and try to enhance as much seafood flavor into these mushrooms to make them mimic scallops as much as possible. All right, now, like I said, you also want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your scallops. As you can see here, mine look like they need to start being turned over. And this is at the point where I start flipping them over. And look at that char. Y'all see that char? Y'all see that? That's a good sear. Okay. Also, little tip. If you want, good searing when it comes to mushrooms, invest in a cast iron skillet. I promise you. Okay. I haven't failed y'all yet. All right. Get a cast iron skillet. Also, it's good because you actually get iron infused into your food when you cook with a cast iron skillet. Okay. Now, also, remember earlier when I was, putting those lines into the mushrooms? That's the reason why. Because, it gives it shape. It gives it like a texture profile or whatever when you go to garnish your food and, present your food and plate your food. So that's why I did that. But as you can see here, I'm flipping my mushrooms over and I'm going to let them cook on the other side for, another 5 minutes and then they should be ready. All right, so looks like my scallops are ready now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take them off the skillet, put them on a plate, set them to the side, and then we're gonna go ahead and continue making the Rasta pasta. All right, so back to this Rasta pasta. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna lightly saute our vegetables. So in a skillet with a little bit of oil, you're gonna take your green peppers, your red peppers, your yellow peppers, your scallion, and your garlic, and you're gonna give it a quick saute. Now, I didn't say this earlier, but I'm saying it now. If you want to add like a yellow onion or a white onion, just dice up like a half, like a quarter to a half of a white onion or a yellow onion. I didn't add onions to this because I was actually planning on sharing this with one of my vegan friends, and she's actually allergic to onions. So I have to use onion powder instead. Okay. Um but what ended up happening was I ended up eating the whole damn thing by myself. Slap on the hand for me, but it was good as hell, so whatever. But let's get back to the video. All right, I digress. So as you can see here, I'm actually sauteing my veggies, and what I'm doing different in this video than the last video is that I'm actually cooking in layers. Last time when I made Rasta pasta and I released that video, I basically just cooked everything in one pot. This time I'm actually cooking in layers because Since last year, I've gained a lot of knowledge when it comes to cooking, and I understand the benefits of cooking in layers because you actually preserve textures of certain ingredients that's in your recipe or in your dish. Okay, now enough of me rambling. So as you can see here, I'm going in with some dried thyme. If you have fresh thyme, you can use that as well. I have dried thyme, so that's what I'm using. As I said earlier, um, detailed list of the ingredients with the exact measurements will be in the description box. Okay, so we're going in with a little bit of onion powder. Like I said before, I only went in with onion powder because of the fact that, like I said, I was making this with the intentions on sharing this with one of my vegan buddies who's allergic to onions, but I ended up eating it all, and I kind of feel bad about that. But yeah, and then we're going in with some fresh black pepper. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and give this a mix. Um, Probably only sauteed it for about no more than, I want to say, what, maybe 5 minutes at that. And then I turned it off and then I just set it to the side. All right, so now we're going to make the sauce. So in the skillet, I decided to use the same cast iron skillet I used to sear my mushrooms, and I should have went ahead and took a little bit more of that oil out, the butter, but I noticed that it still had a lot of flavor left in the skillet. So you know me, I'm all about flavor, so I just kept it. So in the skillet, I added 2 cans of coconut milk. Now, traditional non-vegan Rasta pasta uses coconut milk and heavy whipping cream. Since I don't have any vegan heavy whipping cream, I decided just to double up on the coconut milk. And for my thickening agent, I'm going to use about a tablespoon of sea moss gel. Now, if you guys do not know how to make sea moss gel, I have a video on my YouTube channel that shows you how to make sea moss gel from A to Z, from start to finish. Okay, if you guys want to be able to access that video, I'll put a quick link in the description box, and I'll also add like a little link in the upper left hand or right hand corner of this video, so it'll be easier to access that video from this video. Okay, now um so with this, so adding the sea moss, now what I'm doing is I'm stirring with a whisk. And like I said, if you don't want to use sea moss to thicken up your coconut milk, you can use cornstarch slooey. You can use some flour. You know, I like to use the sea moss because it has minerals in it, and not only are these dishes um, packed with flavor, but they got a little bit of nutrition in them also. You know what I mean? Um, that's what we all about here at Culture Kitchen. So all I'm doing is making sure that all the sea moss is actually mixed in well with the coconut milk, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, next we got to give this sauce some work. So we're gonna go ahead and start adding in the seasonings. Okay, I like to call this season blend that work because this season blend definitely up my vegan Rasta pasta game, and this version is way better than the version I released last year. Okay, now what I just added to the coconut milk is garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, and Old Bay, and then I just gave it a good stir. Make sure that all the seasonings are mixed in well. All right, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, family. So this is where the game changes. This is where you become a vegan god. Okay, this is when people are going to start respecting your vegan game. All right, what I'm about to add to this dish is phenomenal. All right, it is vegan mozzarella cheese. Okay, I promise you, vegan mozzarella cheese. And yes, I use Miyoko's. Y'all can call me bougie. Y'all can call me whatever y'all want to call me. I don't care. I like I like Miyoko's cheese because I just like the taste of it, and I don't mind paying the money for it. And to me, it's one of the best fresh vegan mozzarellas on the market. So I don't mind paying for quality. I'm telling y'all, adding vegan mozzarella cheese to my Rasta pasta now tastes way better. This is why I'm trying to tell y'all. this version of my Rasta pasta is so much better than the first one. Okay, the first one is good. You guys give me great feedback. You guys are hitting my DMs on Instagram, inbox on Facebook telling me how good it is. I'm getting the comments, on YouTube telling me how good it is. But I'm telling y'all, when y'all try this version, you guys are going to thank me. You might look at the plate for a second and be like, "Yo, what did I just create?" But I'm telling y'all, this version is so much better. Okay. All right, family. So, like I was saying, going in with a half cup of vegan mozzarella. Okay. Like I said before, it adds good flavor. You know, it's gonna add good texture, and it's just good, honestly, right? So, once you add the cheese, make sure you stir because you don't want any lumps, you don't want any clumps in your cheese. I'm sorry, not in your cheese, in your sauce, okay? You want no lumps and clumps in your sauce. So always make sure that you're constantly stirring, making sure that your sauce stays smooth, okay? Now, after you add the cheese, okay, you are going to add about 3 to 5 teaspoons of your jerk sauce or your jerk marinade. I don't care if it's homemade. I don't care if you get the Grace brand like I have here. Um, I'm a Walker's Wood jerk marinade, but the store didn't have it, so I got the Grace. I typically make my own jerk rub, but for the sake of time, I just use the bottle version, okay? I say Walker's Wood because that's more, closer to authentic jerk than Grace. So that's why I prefer the Walker's Wood brand. But whatever jerk seasoning you want to use, just use that. It is what it is. Like I said, I went in with about 3 to 5 teaspoons. Okay, give it a good stir, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, family. So I'm about to introduce another ingredient that's going to solidify your vegan godness. Okay, all right. You're going to be godlike after adding this ingredient to this Rasta pasta sauce. I'm telling you guys, all right? That's why I'm trying to, yo, I don't know how many words, I don't know how I got to say it. I'm telling y'all, this version is different. But anyway, like I said, what I'm adding now is vegan parmesan. Yes, I grate my own vegan parmesan. Like I said, y'all can call me bougie, y'all can call me whatever y'all want. I don't care. All right. And I believe I went in with a quarter cup of vegan parmesan, either a quarter cup or a half cup. I can't remember. But I added the cheese to the sauce, gave it a good stir. Now look at that. Look at the consistency. Remember what the consistency looked like when we first started? Look at it now. You see how it's getting a little bit of cheesy? You see how the cheese is incorporating with the coconut milk and the sea moss gel as the thickening agent. And then we add, the garlic powder, the Old Bay, the smoked paprika. We add the jerk seasoning, right? That's a lot of flavor in that sauce. You know what I mean? Like, look at that. I probably should have turned my heat down, but look at that, right? Look, it's getting where we want it. Like I said, keep stirring. You know, do as I do. I taste as I go, like I'm doing right now. But you can't see my face in the camera for a reason. You know what I mean? So, like I said, we're just gonna give this cheese sauce, stir it some more. Make sure that we got the flavor profile that we want. Make sure it tastes the way that we want, and then we're gonna move on to the next step, which I believe is cooking the noodles. All right, family. So next we're gonna cook our noodles. So this is all preference. If you want to use regular wheat noodles, that's fine. Okay. I'm using gluten-free noodles because I actually want to make this a gluten-free dish. Okay. So the gluten-free noodles that I'm using is by a company called Ancient Harvest. And this penne noodle is made with corn, brown rice, and quinoa. Okay. And it's very delicious. But the thing with gluten-free noodles is the fact that you have to know how to cook gluten-free noodles. All right. Let me move a little bit closer in the mic so y'all can hear me. You need to learn and know how to cook gluten-free noodles because if you treat it like regular wheat noodles, you're either going to have undercooked noodles or mushy noodles. All right. The line of error is very thin when it comes to cooking gluten-free noodles. I'm speaking like this so you guys understand how serious I am. All right, let me stop. Let's get back to the video. But yeah, so you want to cook your noodles to the box instructions, whether you're using gluten-free or not gluten-free noodles, okay? All right. Now, once your noodles are done, we're going to drain them, let them cool off a little bit, and then we're going to add everything to the sauce, and then we should be pretty much done. So let's move on to the next step. All right, family. So we're pretty much done. So what we're doing now, we're just adding all of our layers together to create this new and improved vegan Rasta pasta. Okay. So first, I went in with the peppers, the scallions, and the garlic. Next, I'm going in with the pasta, and then we're going to give it a good stir. We're going to give it a good mix. Okay. Then I added the scallions. Okay. Um. Now, I didn't pick all of the scallions. I should have just dumped all the scallions in the pasta, but I was trying to be fancy with my presentation. And when you see the final, well, I mean, you see it on the thumbnail. Like, I like the picture, you know what I mean? Presentation wise, I like the picture, but I should have cut more scallions. And, one takeaway from you know, one takeaway is that I should have cut my mushrooms thicker because if you look at my scallops, my vegan scallops are very small and they look very thin, but they were delicious. I'm not going front. When I say flavor, that jerk with the butter, and then you have the nori, and then you have the obey, like king oyster mushrooms. Yeah, definitely. Yes. It was all that. Yes, all that. But, it is what it is. You live and you learn. Life is all about, experiences, you know what I mean? So, with that being said, I hope you guys really enjoyed um, you know, watching the rebirth of my vegan Rasta pasta. And I promise y'all, okay? I promise y'all. Please make this. Please. Please make this. Like, I'm begging y'all to make it. That's how good it is. Please make this and let me know if you like it. Let me know if you have any suggestions. But I'm telling y'all, this is the new and improved vegan Rasta pasta, and it's going to be by far way better than the one I released last year.
Damn! Oh my God!
Well, there you have it, family. Vegan Rasta pasta with oyster mushroom scallops. I had a lot of fun making this and hope you have a lot of fun as well. If you have any questions or concerns, as always, you can drop a comment or you can email me at culturekitchen@gmail.com. If you'd like to follow me on any of my social media platforms, the links to my social media platforms will be in the description box. Please like, share, and subscribe. With that being said, this is your boy Chris, aka that plant-based brother from Culture Kitchen, signing off. Are we cooking?